Hello everyone. This is Demetris Curry. We are here and we're back for another Financially Fit Friday. I'm so glad that you guys are here to join us today. Listen, I want to take the moment for those people that are just here for the very first time, just tuned in for the very first time, for them to have the opportunity to know what Financially Fit Fridays is all about. We come together on Fridays to talk about things that we can help you in financial literacy. And we bring experts from different areas and different arenas to make sure we are hitting those target things that you're asking questions about, the things that you are requesting information on. And so we want to take the opportunity to bring those experts here to help you meet those goals. We are not gatekeeping, guys. We're not gatekeeping. We are trying to make sure if there's an area that you're needing assistance with, that we're tackling those things. I'm your host, Demetris Curry, CEO of Inspired for Greatness and also DFC Enterprises, and the host and the founder of, guess what, W Squared AV Talk. But let's talk about what's coming today. I had the opportunity to have a conversation with this young lady here. Yeah, I call her a young lady. This is a young lady, Miss Rasheeda Frazier. She is the CEO and a strategic counselor. Okay. And she is not only that, she comes in and she brings in a wealth of knowledge. Okay. Wealth of knowledge in Empowering Greatness, Inc. And I can tell you, she is nobody to play with, guys. Listen, I'm so excited to work with her today. We're talking about strategy. How do you get to the strategic part of your business? How do you actually put things in place, develop it the way it's supposed to be developed? How do you make sure those cash flows are coming in and you're making the money that you need to make, but you're seeing the profits, you're seeing what needs to happen in your business? So when we start talking about financial literacy, it's not just about the money itself. It's how to get to the money, how to secure the money, how to put it on autopilot, how to make it work for you in your favor. And these things that we're talking about right now is exactly what Miss Rasheeda helps people do. So I'm not going to hold you any longer. I'm going to bring on this wealth of knowledge lady right here, Miss Frazier. Can you hear me, girl?
I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm so excited to have you with me today. How are you doing today?
Today is a good day for it to be a good day. So it's going to be an amazing day.
It's gonna
And
be
I
an
get to
amazing
sit
day.
down with you, so it's going to be a good conversation.
It's gonna be a good
It's
conversation.
going to be a
Rashida,
good
listen. I've been watching your mama.
conversation.
Okay. I've been watching you. I said, oh yeah, we must have her on the show because what she's talking about is deep, deep stuff. We're going down into the layers of the onion. Can we go down into the layers of the
We
onion
go down
today?
into the layers of the onion today. Yeah, I like onion. You can peel them back. Just, not
First,
enough to scare them, but enough to put them on their toes.
you know what I'm saying? And first and foremost, let me pause and let you tell me what all you do. You do so much to help companies and businesses and organizations and getting them on the right path of development. So let me pause to you and let you talk even further about what all you do.
So, Rasheeda Frazier, as Demetris said, Empowering Greatness Inc., founder and CEO.
Hmm.
Basically, my firm, what we do is we are your structure fix structure fixers, as we like to call ourselves. We go in, we assess, we strategize solutions, and then we help you implement. And we do it under our three pillars, which are leadership, systems, and teams. Because every organization, no matter how small or how big, whether you're a corporate setting, nonprofit, small business, mid-sized business, usually has one of three things wrong with them or all three. Either you have leadership issues that are affecting your systems and your teams, you have systems issues that are affecting your ability to lead and your team's ability to be able to execute, or you have a team issue, right? Because either you don't have a team and now you need to design team structure and control into your business to take you out of chief everything officer mode into true CEO mode. And we help you do that. Or you have major issues within your team that we help you fix so that the whole system is running great. So a lot of
Mm.
times it's either one, two, or three, or a combination of two, or all three.
Wow.
So we go in, we assess, we show you where your gaps are, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. You get a full business SWOT analysis, and then we help you design your way into greatness.
There you go. There you go. And you designing what needs to be in place to for have success,
Right. Yes.
to get that success.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership, systems, and teams,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you got all of that together combined. What if you are falling apart in one of the major parts of those things? And how do you sort of start pulling that together? Because it seems like a puzzle, right? Isn't it like a puzzle?
Honey, it's the best puzzle to have. I know people look at me and go, "Oh my God, that sounds crazy." I like puzzles. Listen, I'm old school. I like playing Tetris. I'm like, okay, how do we rearrange these blocks so that everything fits, so that we are not building it up to the top and losing, right? So we are
Mm.
not overwhelmed, so that everything has a place, everything fits neatly within the structure of your business model and how you run, right? Because
Yeah.
businesses are not a one size fit all, even though business strategy is, right? There's a way to fit this business strategy into your model. It's a way to fix it and design it in a way that works specifically for you and your organization, for your company, for your business, for your department and your corporate area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's literally what we do. We go in and we design that fit. We figure out what pieces of the puzzle you're missing, and or what pieces of the puzzle you don't have. Not that you don't have. A better way to say it is what pieces of the puzzle may not be in the right place.
Or operating efficiently,
Right.
or operating efficiently, and
Operating efficiently.
not being effective.
Right. So it all
And
falls underneath that.
but you know what? You could do that in the home too.
Yeah, you can.
You could actually run your home structure as far as your financials the same exact same way
Hmm.
as you do it if it was a small business or a corporation.
And actually, I think most people should, even though there are distinct things that are, you know, good for personal finances versus business financing. You still have to look at the holistic view. You have to look at everything that's coming in, everything that's going out. Why is it? Is it important? Right? How am I running it efficiently? Do I have enough money in my bank account and from my W-2 paycheck that I get faithfully every 2 weeks to be able to do all the things that I need to do for my household, my children, my husband, taking care of my mama and everybody else?
Oh,
And it's
see,
the same
see,
way in a business. Listen, it's the same way in a business. Do I have enough cash flow to get everything that I need to cover all these expenses that I have that are coming in, all of the things that you know what I'm saying, that I have to pay, all my receivables, all my payables, all my everything, right?
yes.
Where's my revenue coming in? And if it's just straight revenue, if it's based off of contracts, how does that look? Right? Do I have monthly recurring revenue? Do I have things that are coming in that fills in those stopgap measures so that I can make payroll, so that I can have a payroll? So hell, look at that, I can even pay myself.
There you go. Listen,
Yes,
listen. That's the part you're trying to get to,
that
because
part.
you already know the small businesses. A lot of times they don't pay themselves; they have to pay
No,
everything else in between,
that's right.
right? So, see, you just said a mouthful. I got like 12 questions off just what you just said. But
Come
listen,
on. Come on.
I said, let me scratch this one out because she just touched on something else I need to talk to. All right, okay. So while we are talking about leadership, let me break this down because you're doing a three pillars and we do a three pillars as well,
Right.
which is the create, sustain, protect. That's our three pillars. You are in the leadership systems team. Now, let's say leadership.
Yes.
Leadership with it being necessarily a person that is like working within the business, or maybe they're giving the type of leadership that they need to give to their team. Make sure they know that you are accessible, that you are giving them instructions that they can duplicate, things
Mhm.
of that nature, right? In that leadership role. When you are working with someone in small business, I'm just saying my entrepreneurs right now, I'm just focusing on them because it's a lot of us out here. When you're working with these entrepreneurs and they have maybe one or two key team members, things like that, but the leadership is off
Mhm.
and they end up having a revolving door because of it.
Mhm.
Don't you see that there is like a part of the business that'll never get off the ground if they can't learn the part of how to be an effective leader?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of times when we go in, when it is a leadership issue, it is because I'm dealing with leaders who have given birth to something that they think they need to hold on to and keep in baby mode for the rest of their lives. It is my
Mm,
I am attached to it. If I don't have my hands on it, they're in micromanagement mode. They're in perpetual survival mode because they did all the initial work to get it done. And they're scared to delegate. They're scared to have someone else's genius come in and make it better. So when I get leaders like that, and that's usually the leadership issue that I deal with,
yeah.
right? A lot of times, what helps them is making sure I outline, and this is why I say it's either one, two, three, or a combination of. 9 times out of 10 is because they cannot see what they cannot see. They only see what's in their brain. So my job is to help them get it out, help them structure it, help them put it on paper, if you will, a computer, something. Hell, at this rate, some of them just need a note in their phone, right? Just to see, right? Just at its simplest form. But our job with that leadership then is to take everything that they say to us and put it on paper. Then is to assess
Mm,
how what they're saying is implemented already in their business. And then is to look at their other leadership that they have or other team members to see if they are leadership ready
mm,
on some of those tasks, some of those things, right? To remove. Because a lot of times the reason why they're stuck or the business can't grow is because the leader, the founder, the CEO, the chief thinker is stuck in everyday operational mode. So they're not CEOing, right? They're not out there really looking at other ways to generate those revenues and those cash flow. They're stuck in too much into the weeds, right? But if you help them create a plan on what that looks like, train them and walk them through while you're also training their team
yes.
so that they can begin to assess the team and see who has the strongest bandwidth, who has the capacity, who has the knowledge, who has the skill set, right? Because a lot of times you hire and you know the person is good, but if you can't really see it because
Right.
you're allowing yourself to, or you're incapable of, not because you're a bad leader, but because you're too attached to the thing, right? So
Absolutely.
our job at Empowering Greatness Inc. is to help kind of separate that and make it visible. And a lot of times, once we begin to make it visible and we give some level of autonomy while still having
Mm,
oversight from the leader, things within at least 90 days begin to move in a different direction.
mhm, mhm.
And then the leader is like, oh my God, I could actually go out and focus on some revenue generating activity. And it's like, yeah, you actually can.
Because you've actually you put some person in place. Sorry, put some person in place that has that general management mode,
That's
right?
right.
And I'm telling you, as an entrepreneur, it's so important to have it. It's so important to have it.
It
Like,
is.
and
Groom them.
groom them to actually like clone you. You know what I mean? Like, and of course you're gonna have your own special sauce. They can't do everything that you do because they don't have
Not
all
at
the
all. And they're
experience.
not supposed to. They're not,
Right. They're
right?
not. But
Yeah.
if you give them certain tasks or get them to be very, very efficient in certain parts of the business that's very important to you,
Yeah.
then those cash flow abilities, the things that you're working on,
Hmm.
now starts to roll into the systems.
It starts to roll into the system. It starts to
Yeah.
roll into those things, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if your system turns into AI, right? Because a lot of people are now using AI agents, different things to be able to auto streamline, do this, do
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
You still want to have at least a person that is in charge of that so that you're not.
That
Because
is so
you're,
true.
because then you're still in the weeds, right? Your job is to delegate so that you can do the things that you know how to do best. And that's get your business past the mark where you've already gotten it when you were either doing it by yourself or
Mhm.
doing it without, you know, the maximum efficiency of the team that you have.
So let's talk about these systems because this is one of the things that my team and I talk about all the time.
Mhm.
The cash flow ability inside of your business, right? You're working with what needs to come in on a week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter
Mhm.
basis,
Yeah.
and whether it is consistency. The cash flows itself is just a consistency of it coming in, whether you're putting your efforts into it or not. Something that's going to be consistent for you.
Right.
But if you are, let's say you're a one man show,
Mhm.
and you don't have the leadership part, like you just said, that part that you are the leader, you the CEO, you're the administrative assistant, you
Mhm.
are the sales representative, you are the person that does all the processing, you are everything, right? But when you are everything, the importance of your systems are even heavier, don't you think?
They are extremely heavier, and this is where a lot of people get stuck, right?
Mhm.
But it's also the best way to leverage newer technologies and what's happening right now in the world. And I don't think enough people, like, you hear AI, you hear this, you hear that, and a lot of people are jumping on board, right? Which is great,
Mhm.
but it still doesn't replace that human part, right? That I still think all people need. And I am a very big advocate of artificial intelligence being a tool to help us get forward, to do certain things to assist, but not to replace, right? And
And
so I will always advocate for use of, because it does help with the different efficiencies. It helps with standardizing things to get them to a point where you can then get a person in. There are ways and tools, right? We can have a whole session about that. But there are ways and tools where you can use AI, right, to begin to automate so many different things and to leverage. But even before you get to that point, right, I think the biggest thing that a solo leader or a solo chief everything officer needs to do in order to get to the true CEO slot is really block out dedicated time to build those things out, right? A lot of times we don't talk about capacity because we're trying to do everything. And when you try to do everything, you actually get nothing done. I'm big on time blocking. I'm big on, I don't know if you can see my little cube. I'm in my office, right? My Pomodoro, right? I time block. Hitting the button. I'm like, hey, let's go, right? My calendar, I live by my calendar.
me too.
I wake up, I eat breakfast, I interact with my children, now it's time for work, right? I got to have an extremely big cup of mushroom coffee sitting on my desk. There are certain things that I have to do in order to be ready for the day. And then once I am, I have time blocked off for clients, time blocked off for admin work, time blocked off to meet with my team, time blocked off for, um, you name it, right? Everything is not a meeting. Everything is not running to a conference or a networking event. You have to have time to actually get the work done.
That's so true.
And so, as a solo leader, if you can really begin to block off your time, even if it's just 1 day a week, to
Mhm.
work on those systems, to work on getting yourself to a point where those automations can be in play, right? That, until you have enough money, enough revenues to hire a person, hire a me, hire a someone to come in and help you really get to that next level, that is one of the most efficient stopgap measures. But it's not just creating the schedule, it's actually sticking to it, holding space in that boundary, and then making sure that during that time, you are in heavy execution mode.
Mm.
Right?
And you said so much right there, because I'm so heavy on my calendar. So, you and I talked about this earlier this week. I was like, girl, my calendar look a hot mess with 30-minute increments. Bam.
Yeah.
There's certain areas that I just truly have to zone in on. And
Yeah.
to zone in on those things, I have to be, blocked off and not taking any other, calls or emails or whatever, so it can get to the finish line,
That's right.
right?
And you'd be surprised that even just that little bit, 30 minutes here, 15 minutes here, an hour here, 2 hours here, right? On the different things that you need to do and focus on. It's not all
Hmm.
going to get done in one day. But if you start it and you keep that rhythm that every week you're working on that to get to the next, to get to the next, to get to the next, baby.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We're talking cash flow ability, and people thinking, oh, they're just going to talk about money. No, we're
Mhm.
talking about what it takes to get to the money, what it takes to actually make sure it is moving in the direction, because cash flow is like a water stream.
Listen.
You know what I mean? It's like a water stream. It's not a standing still pond. You know what I mean? So you talk about a nice water stream. You ever been to the country? They
Yeah.
have a nice flowing water
Just
stream.
a nice flow. But guess what? So, one of my business coaches, I love him to death. He always says, success loves consistency. So
Mm.
does your cash flow. If you are not being consistent in the things that you need to do to be able to generate the cash flow, if you are consistently stuck behind things that you don't need to be touching, if you are consistently doing all the wrong things, then you will consistently not have the success that you need in order to generate not only the revenues, but the consistent cash flow and your ability to be able to really touch the people that you're supposed to touch.
Go ahead, mama. That's the truth.
And that is the truth.
Yeah, that is the truth. And that's one of the things that's so important. I think that's pivotal. You just said something so powerful. Now, we got the leadership. We're
Yeah.
talking about systems. And I'm
Mhm.
still on systems because what concerns me about a lot of the business owners that we work with
Mhm.
and possibly some of the people that are trying to break up into a new, I get a lot of calls. People say, hey D, I need some working capital for this new venture I'm getting ready to do, or I'm ready for this nonprofit to jump off the ground. And they don't have any type of board members, and I have to forward them over to Tyboon Enterprises, which is my sister. She handles nonprofits. And I'm like, you need to get your board together. You before you jump out there and talking about you need money.
Your foundation has to be set.
We got to do some foundational work, right?
And the
It's like,
systems is foundation.
exactly, it's like building a house on no type of slabs or
Here's the thing. A lot of businesses start based off of sheer passion. Um, they see a need, they want to fill a need, they come up with an idea. It's like, oh my God, I got it. Let's get out here. Or it's built off of survival. I've lost my job. I know I have a skill set. I know I can do this. I know somebody will pay me. And so they just start doing it. It takes 2 seconds to do an LLC. Most people don't do it right. It takes 2 seconds to do an S Corp and even know if you need one, depending on what your business model is, and if you can even generate enough money within the first 1 to 2 years to be considered an S Corp so that you can pay yourself. We're not going to talk about that right now because that's a whole nother topic, but that's okay, right? But it's still easy to do in most states.
yes.
And so everybody knows because that's the buzzword. That's the listen, everybody chat GPT and how do I start a business? Chat GPT gonna tell you. Go here,
Yeah,
go to the version of the
yeah.
thing, do this, do that. But it's not gonna tell you anything else. Because 9 times out of 10, you don't even know what to ask it in order to get the information that you need.
And it can only tell you what you put
And
in
it
it.
can only tell you what you put in it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. That's the difference that people forgets about. So you're prompting it to tell you an answer, but you got to put in the right questions to
And you
get.
have to know a little something about it, and that's where the knowledge gap comes, right? So a lot of people really don't understand the structure that it takes to really build that. What it's very basic things you have to have in place in order to be considered finance ready.
Mm.
Most people are still commingling between their business bank accounts and their personal bank accounts. Most people's QuickBooks are not even up to date and together. Most people are using CRMs and don't even realize that there are certain things within the CRM system when you send an invoice, when an invoice gets paid, how it hits your bank that can mess up your QuickBooks. And if that is not fixed correctly, could actually mess up your P&L and your balance sheet.
I'm
And you
going to say all your reports is going to
all
be
your reports are backwards, right? And most people are trying to do this themselves, right? They don't realize how affordable a bookkeeper can be, even if you can't
mm.
afford a full time CPA, right? And so they're stuck in, again, do everything mode, but because they don't know, and even though they do have something viable and it is out here generating revenues, I've seen six-figure businesses out here doing the damn thing. And their structure, their back end, everything is just fugly. It is just a hot mess. And then they're like, well, I want to get funded for this. And no, no, you don't.
No, no.
And
Because
then by the time you really fix their books, or I pull them, my bookkeeper that I work with to say, hey, okay, we got this client, and I'm realizing they may need you, and I pull her in on the contract, and by the time she finishes, she's usually like, so they thought they were in the black, they're in the red. You're not getting a loan or any kind of financing when you're in the red,
there you go. There you go. And
right?
that's That tells a big story right there. And that's because they haven't been keeping up with the numbers.
And they haven't been keeping up with the numbers because all they've been focusing on is the the product and or service delivery.
Right.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're doing well. It does. It feels like you're doing well and that you're bringing in the monies because you see
Right.
it going direct deposit, but you don't take into account how quickly it takes to either pay for the production of that product or pay for the services behind it, maybe the shipping behind it, maybe all those
Little
things,
things,
those little bitty.
little bitty things, even down to what your tech stack looks like, how much you're paying for it, what does that look like every month, right?
Mhm.
And then again, if you're not even doing that little bit, that shows me all in all that your systems are not together, right? That means you have no standard operating procedures for how you just flow from one area of your business to the next to be able to get to that point where you can see truly what's coming in, what's going out, what is affecting your bottom line, right?
Mm.
Because it's more than just the social impact that you have, right? The
Yeah.
social impact, believe it or not, is a driver for the financial impact that comes back to you.
Mm.
Tracking it correctly and you're thinking because everybody's telling you you're great and oh, you've helped me so much, but what are the numbers saying? Are the numbers actually saying that? And then a lot of social impact entrepreneurs, which I think 90% of us are because we're all trying to fix some kind of problem. We got a solution for something in some corner of the world that we're trying to touch.
Right.
Half of us are giving our stuff away for free. So you also are impeding your cash flow ability if you're not charging,
If you're not charging.
or if you're undercharging, or if
That's
your pricing is off. And this
ooh,
is all part of your systems, especially because a lot of times people don't have a real structure or rubric for how to price. That's a system issue, right? It's a process issue. What is your process for doing that? And then what system do you have in place to make that automatic so that you know if somebody comes in for this service, this is the charge. This is
absolutely.
this is the process. This is the system to make that process automatic.
I like you, girl.
And so a lot of yeah, a lot of
Listen,
times we get listen, you get it you when you get down and dirty in these business. Listen, I'm not only a hair club president, I'm also a client, right?
there
My
you
stuff,
go.
my stuff used to look raggedy too. Girl, there are times when I still sit down and I go back and I go, oh wait, let me make sure I'm on top of my stuff, right?
Absolutely. Listen, you got me over here check box and check, check.
Yeah, like wait a minute, I gotta check those boxes too. I can't talk about it and not be about it.
That's right. The check boxes. But as entrepreneurs, let's just be serious here. As entrepreneurs and people that's in the field doing the thing, it is tough. Let me say this real clear for our listeners. It is sometimes tough to get it all together and make sure you're looking really, really good on paper, like what I like to call looking sexy on paper. It
Mhm.
is hard to be looking sexy on paper sometimes
Yeah.
when you have to get all these things in play. But you got to compartmentalize
Yes.
what needs to be done in a certain time frame for it to be done in. And I'm not just talking about just the entrepreneurs and the business owners. I'm also talking about those people that's trying to do this for their homes, which is
Yes.
why I want to bring you here today and say, okay, listen, it's not just about the business, but let's say that you are running a business and it's in the red, and now you're taking money out the home to feed into the business because you're trying to keep it and give it CPR, and you're trying to, like COVID. So many people
Oh gosh.
that when we went through COVID, they're trying so hard to keep the business afloat. And what they do, they end up trying to pull money from their own homes and end up filing for, bankruptcies and things of this
Bankruptcy.
nature.
Or
Or
they
they had to
destroy
go
their
meet,
businesses. Their
yeah,
fail. Mhm.
or their business completely failed.
Yeah. And because they weren't set up right, they had no SOPs, no processes, no systems, even for their finances. A lot of them couldn't even take advantage of the what was it, the EIDL loans or the PIPs, right?
Yeah,
They had,
yeah. Or lied to get it.
or or lie to get it. and then got caught because there are so many people now having to pay that money back
Right.
because half of these people weren't even in business and they was doing it, unfortunately, whipped up in these scams thinking they get this money off of fake EIN numbers and or actual social security numbers, right?
Girl. Look, my eyes like,
Because
whoa.
that's what it was, right? You know, pandemics, epidemics always breed opportunity for economic scam because people are struggling, right? And when you're in struggle and survival mode, sometimes
Yeah,
your brain is not always working the way that it needs to.
yeah.
And you're thinking about by any means necessary, I got to make this work. And it's like, no, if we fix the knowledge gap and we actually help these small businesses really get their back offices, their foundational stuff systematized, process driven, they can put their hand on it at any single moment.
Mm.
That makes the strong foundation, right? What is your blueprint? Most of these businesses don't even have a proper business plan. And people go, "Oh, the business plan is outdated. All you need, you can do it in one." No, you can't, right? Now, there's a way to update that business plan and make it more viable for what's happening today. But I don't even like to call it a plan. It is a blueprint. What is the mission and vision of this? How am I looking to get from point A to point B to point C? What verticals am I going to put into the business to make that happen? How
Mm.
are we forecasting cash flow? How are we looking at revenues? How are we looking at consistent revenues? Right? What are my invoice terms? 30, 60, 90 days, right? What's that net term? Right? Am I doing government contracting and do they pay on time?
Ooh, see, now you know, we jumped into a whole nother lane now.
But all of these things you have to realistically think about
Yeah.
when you're figuring out what your product and or service is. If it's product based, chargebacks, churn, all of those things, right?
Hmm,
Got
hmm.
a membership model, people going to drop off. How consistently are you at getting one, keeping the people who are there to stay? So
Mm.
it just keeps going.
All of it is, but you're talking about automation of cash flows, and those automation
Exactly.
of the cash flows is so important. You know, I was having this conversation with my husband the other day. We are talking about internal house cash flows, and you know
That's
where the money is coming from, where it's being distributed to. You know, you have this one bundle
one.
of,
That's it.
you know, income coming in, and then you have those five fingers, and you're like, okay, where is this going, this going, this going, and that way you get an idea of it's going to be in this little bucket here for investments, or this little bucket here for bills, and then this little investment here for savings, and then this little investment here
That's
for, you know, what's coming down the road, maybe college funds, all this stuff, right?
stuff.
And that's what you look at this way. You like, you got, this is all the money here. You got a
This
big
is it.
fist here. Here's all the money. And when you open that fist up, and you're like, bam, this is what it looks like. This is where it's going, in the different streams of where it's going in. Another way of looking at it is,
Yeah.
my favorite oak tree.
Mm,
My favorite oak tree of having, you
yeah.
know, a root system that goes in all these different
All these different
directions.
intersections.
And now you're trying to keep that tree afloat. You're trying to make sure it's still nourishing, that it's still blooming, and it's not dying at the root, and it's not, you know, getting all these infections and all this other stuff, that is healthy.
Right.
And to do that, this part of the bark itself, it has to actually have a solid foundation there,
It has
with
to have
those
a
with,
very solid
yeah,
foundation.
yeah, has to be solid. Even the soil
That's right. And it has to be enriching and nourishing.
had to be with nourishment, have to be with proper watering, have to be with those things, the minerals, all that stuff has to be there. But that comes in what you just talked about: leadership, systems, teams.
That's right. Because you can't do it by yourself. And
There.
a lot of people thinking they can. It's only going to get you but so far. And what got you there will not get you to the next level.
Mm.
We hear that all the time. And it is true, right? You got African
Mhm.
proverbs. If you want to, you know, if you want to go, what is it? I always mess this one up. If you want to go this, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, or something
Yeah.
like that. I always mess it up. And so
Yeah.
I do apologize.
Yeah.
But, and I think everybody knows what I'm talking about, but it rings true. Because when you have help, when you have community, when you have, um, I don't care if it's just two of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two is better than one,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because you have two different sets of eyes now looking at the same thing, and one can see what the other one can't. So it helps to shut it down,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
The beginning of your root system, right?
Yep.
And as you grow to a certain point, you get to be able to pull more people into that root system. As you get to a certain point, you're perfecting your processes, you're perfecting your systems to be able to make that stronger. And then when you get to a certain point, you can delegate more so that you can go out because you're the brand, you're the face, you know exactly what it is that you're selling from a product or a service base, and you can attract more because now your foundation can handle it.
Mm. But your foundation can't handle it because you ain't got all these things in place,
Okay, right.
and you find yourself burnout.
And that burnout is because you
Mm-hmm.
acting like this your baby that you birthed and can't nobody do it but you.
Ooh.
Acting like if you don't touch it, it can't get done because you're acting like, right? Um, it it you get to that point where you don't even trust God to help you. You over here praying to the wrong thing, meditating
Okay.
on the wrong things. Not get all
Okay.
spiritual on you, but it goes there. When you're so locked into I did this, I like no, you had a brainchild that the universe gave you. God sat down and said, "Hey, I think you could do this," right?
Yes.
And drop that little seed. Your ancestors came from somewhere and gave you a little prophecy and said, "Hey, I want you to look at this." And what did you do? You you germinate. You sort toil the seed. You let it do what it needed to do. It began to blossom, and then it began to grow. But you can't even trust that something greater than you even put it there to help you. So you locked yourself into this I am so alone bubble,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not. So you're not
Mm-hmm.
tapping into your spirit, you're not tapping into your mental. You don't got this mindset that is me, 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 me. So you sitting here, people looking at you like, and all you gotta do 9 times out of 10 is open your mouth and ask for help.
There you go.
Right? Sit down and ask God the right question. I don't care what your faith is. Ask God the right question. God, how can you help me see what I
Mm.
do to fix this? Do I need to pivot? Do I need to shift? What do I need to do? Right?
What do I
You
need to do?
change your mindset out of me mode into we mode into I got help from somewhere, whether I can see it or not. Right? Once you begin to open your mouth and say, hey, I do need help. Once you begin to change your energy and shift in that mode that says, I cannot do this by myself to get it to the next level, you're going to stay stuck in that mode. And that's usually where a lot of the leadership issues come from. And that's
Right.
why leadership's micromanage, or they say, I've got to do it or I can't. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Out of the picture frame so that they can see the holistic view of why they cannot and why they need help, but also highlight their strengths, highlight who they are to even get to that point, right? To be
Right.
able to say, teach them techniques on how to effectively be a leader, how to delegate, right? What that looks like, right? Go
Right.
through exercises with them so that they can see how beneficial it would be for them to be able to follow certain rubrics.
And so now you have you're learning this part of the leadership. You sometimes you have to be a leader to yourself, even
Yeah.
if you're.
And it's hard for people. It's hard to see because you're so emotionally attached to what this thing is.
Yes, yes. And I'm talking about me. It's hard to be a leader to myself and say, girl, get your butt up. I know this, take today. And then there's times when you have to say, take a break, D.
Have several seats. I like to say that's my favorite line. Let me go on and have several seats over here, sit down and do absolutely nothing for at least
Absolutely nothing.
30 minutes.
Give
Because you got
yourself
to give yourself
grace.
a break and you got to give yourself grace.
I was just about to say that. Giving yourself grace is
Yeah,
also part of the leadership. And
it's,
so you got that leadership there. You making sure you get these things in line. When you have tasks to do, when you have goals to meet, you have targets that have to be done, you get into that mode and you get it done. You tunnel vision. But when you have that moment when it's time to sit down and meditate, relax,
that's
bring
right.
it down a bit, make sure you're taking care of your inner self. That's also part of the
It
responsibility of being a leader.
Yeah. And it's also part of the responsibility of building a viable business. If you don't have time to sit down and think, how are you going to allow the ideas to come? Because
Mm,
if you're always busy and your mind is always on, you can't hear what's good and see what's good if you're in movement. There is a time to be still. And it's in that stillness and that quietness is when you probably can see the most clearest.
exactly. Exactly. Well, we got things to do because there's part of what's going on right now in this industry. When we're talking about these cash flows and we're talking about how to actually get to the cash flows and make sure it makes sense and that it's consistency for you. When people saying, "Hey, I'm making the money," I've had clients say, "Hey, I ain't making the money. I've made $400,000 within a given year. I did 250,000 the year before, and then COVID. Yeah, I jumped about 50% during COVID, but I'm back. I'm doing this about right now, right?" Or they've pivoted their business. They've pivoted their business, and a lot of us has done that, right, Rashida? A lot of us have actually learned that we can't be present all the time within our business. So we've actually learned that, hey, we got to put those cash flows in place where it's operating and coming in with or without us being present. Those
Remain. That's
online services, those virtual trainings, those webinars that you have, those memberships that you have, all of those things are now beginning a consistency of
right.
cash flows.
Right.
It's coming in a certain date and time because you know your numbers. You have 100 people members on this side and you got 50 members doing that on that side,
And
right?
not knowing your numbers is a systems and process issue.
There you go. There you go. But the pivotability, I love to call it the pivotability, baby. The pivotability of being able to adjust what needs to be done makes so much sense. And then so now you're building out. Now let's give myself.
Now let me say something though.
Go
That
ahead.
ability to be able to know when to shift comes from knowing what works. And you don't know what works if you don't know your numbers. And if you don't know your numbers is pivotal data. How much is this vertical making? How much is this vertical making? How much is this vertical making? Is it even profitable to keep this? Am I running this? Am I paying more to produce this product or service than I am getting in from having it and offering it? Right.
I love that.
So, since we're talking about knowing your numbers, I spend so much. I listen. I got to meet later today with my bookkeeper. We got a whole hour on the books. Why? Because I got questions.
There you go.
Right? We talking at 4 o'clock.
There you go. There
Because
you
I have questions. I need to know. I'm getting ready to shift into the next pivotal moment of my business. Right? I
love that.
gotta see some things. Right? Second quarter is about to be over. What does third and fourth quarter look like?
Yes.
How can we forecast what's working, what's not? What's been coming in? How's this working? Because not only third and fourth quarter, but I got to start now revving up for 2027.
We're already in 2027.
That's what I'm talking about.
We're like, okay, all right, this is what's happening now. For me to be where it needs to be at in May, June of 2027, this is what has to be going on now. So we are.
We are ready, right? But how many people could actually say, I'm having this level of conversation? I don't care if you can't afford a bookkeeper on a consistent basis, which I believe everybody should. I don't care. Even if you are solo, you should have, at the bare minimum, a good bookkeeper that is helping you count from 1 + 1 = 2 to 1,000 to
There you go.
100,000 and more, to help you be able to think strategically about what is working and what they see, not just making sure that things are categorized the right way. Right.
Oh, that's serious talk right there. Ooh, that's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation, but it drives the cash flow. It drives the business. And even if you are a person or an individual and you don't have a business and you are doing this at home, somebody files your taxes, and I pray it's not H&R Block. And yeah, I said that out loud. You should, if you're serious about your finances, even on a personal level, you should have a finance person that you should be able to talk to say, these are my goals. There are financial strategists, financial advisors, all kind of stuff that will look at your income, look at what you have, look at what you have going out, look at what your future goals are, where you're trying to save. You and I had a conversation about retirement plans. There's a whole lot of people who are underutilized in their retirement plans, don't understand how to really maximize on their 401ks, right? And other viable instruments from life insurance, da 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 da, right? It's the same thing for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And most entrepreneurs, they don't realize how much that that has to live top of mind, because if their business tanks, do you have enough reserve to
Do
live?
you have emergencies in place that you can get to?
Fund that you can get to? Do you have
Right.
enough liquid sitting somewhere collecting some level of compounding interest
Right.
that you can touch to make payroll, that you can touch to pay them taxes? Because Iris is coming for you.
All the time.
She don't play. She want her money and she want it now. She'll put you on a payment plan. People go, Iris, IRS, Iris. I know what I said. I said what I said. She
I
coming.
knew exactly what you were talking about.
Iris is coming for you, right? It's automatic, right? Do you have enough to handle, if your business is your own sole source of income? Do you have enough to make sure that you can live for at least 3 to 6 months until you can figure it out,
Mm,
right? Do you have? I call that the figure outable pot, because if something happens, I need to have enough to figure out
yeah,
what I can do, right? Because guess what? You still got to pay your rent. You still got to have some level of food. I don't care if it's the ramen noodles, uh, rice and peas budget, but you still have to have some money to even get that,
that's true. That's
right?
that's true.
And at
Which
this
is, and,
ramen noodles probably cost like about $8, so you better budget for it, because
and everything is going up.
everything is going up.
Everything's going up. And you and I talked about that. We talked about how things are
Yeah,
inflated. And so with the pricing of inflation with 3% better,
right.
okay, you already know
Yeah.
that you got to have. I'm one of those people, and I be fussing at my people. I love them. I said, listen, they said, D, stop. As soon as you do this number right here, you know you're gonna fuss. But I'm like, no,
Oh,
no, 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 no. We're not doing the pimp move of you putting
no,
your money into a 0.000% account
that part,
and
please.
inflation is 3%. We're not doing the pimp move. I'm finna give you, matter of fact, let's Google. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Google real quick. High interest yield savings account 2020, whatever year is, and see
What's out there?
what's out there, and then choose which one makes sense to you based off of minimum deposit and all this other
All
stuff,
of
great
these things.
return, et cetera, et cetera, and move your money into something that at least if it has to stay liquid, if it has to stay liquid. Now that's a whole nother question. Does it really have to stay liquid, or can we afford to put it somewhere else that compounds better at
Better than that. How you
7, 8, 15, 20% return? But if it has to stay liquid, then it definitely needs to be above the threshold of
way above.
inflation.
Yeah. And right now the threshold is like this.
Yeah,
So it's gotta at least 3 to 4.
at least 3 to 4
At
minimum.
least 3 to 4. Yeah.
No, that's a listen. That's the biggest pimp move I've seen for my life. I mean, for you to
Listen.
have your stuff sit to an account, and inflation is moving the way it's moving, and you're having a slow bleed and don't realize it. And so I'm like, you don't realize that your money's not making any money for you, but everything else around you
Is
is adjusting to the economic climate, and you're trying to stay
so
above.
do you. And so
Mhm,
do you. So, you
mhm.
know, to all of the entrepreneurs and business owners out here, the reason why we're having this conversation is because it is so important, right? When I ask, do you have a retirement plan, to a lot of my clients, a lot of them say no. And I go, well,
Mm,
and in
mm,
certain states, if you're on payroll and if you have people on your payroll, they're making it mandatory for you to at least offer, right, a
yeah,
401k of some sort,
yeah.
even if the company doesn't match
Mm,
payroll on your own payroll, then you need to at least do that. But
mm,
I suggest I don't care if you got $100 in your savings account and $50 in your checking account, and you talk about, but I don't care what the papers say. You need to go speak to a financial advisor. You need to find someone. You need to figure out what works for you and your situation. I
right.
think a lot of it too is also fear and embarrassment, right? So that's
Mhm.
also a mindset piece. A lot of people are fearful, and it's like, oh, I know I made all of this money, but it doesn't show. All of this stuff. It's crazy, right?
So it looks like we have a question here. How does this apply to a new startup business when the data is minimum? That's a really good question.
So it applies because even when the data is minimal, you still have to have data. I think people think startup means no data, right? When you're a startup, you still should have what this business is about, what the deck is. You don't have actual cash data, then you have forecasting data, right? We are forecasting that based off of the research that we've done within our industry and what this looks like, right? That we will be able to hit these markers, providing that, right? And then you put those caveats in place, right? It shows the viability of the plan, it shows the viability of the business. It allows people who may want to invest to say, okay, they've done their research, they have this initial data. Yes, it may change, it may be skewed. And then you also want to make sure that whatever your product and or service is truly does hit a target that is, it can't be something that's just so like everybody else is doing it. You want to make sure that your differentiators are there when you're pitching it, when you're talking about it, so that people understand the viability, right? You want to have case studies around what this could look like. And you could have all that data even before you make a dollar.
That's so true. The proposal of I want to be a part of this,
Right,
that, and the other, and the projection. So let's say let's dig in on that just a little bit, just to help them understand what we're talking about. So let's say that you have a startup business.
right.
You are attempting to bring something to the market that you know has a demand for,
That's right.
but you have not had the ability to get into it just yet. You're trying to start it up. You're trying to get your paperwork right. You've applied for your LLCs. You've applied for your documents. You
Right,
got your operating agreement together. You got all those things. You got your EIN together. So now on paper you look like you're formed.
right.
So now you're formed. Now what's next is, okay, how do I get my cash flows working? How do I get my paperwork in line where it looks like I'm doing well? Well, you haven't started getting any money yet. So what we got to do now to get people interested as far as like maybe grants or possibly someone that's trying to be, operate an agreement, maybe someone that wants to be a private investor, whatever.
That's right.
If you're trying to do those things, or if you're trying to apply for a startup working capital, okay, these things is they're like, okay, tell me about your business. How is this going to actually make money? And what time frame are you talking about this is going to make money?
All of that.
What type of ROI are we going to get if we get involved?
That's right.
What is the next steps to making sure that you are doing what you need to do to make sure this is profitable? Do you have experts on your team to assist, or is this an individual thing? These are the questions that investors
Investor at right. And not only that, they're also going to ask you a very important question that most people shy away from, and that's marketing. How are you marketing this to be able to get your first sale? What
Mm,
kind of startup marketing budget are you willing to invest into the company to get it in front of the right people, right? Not just Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, right?
right.
A lot of people don't realize what that does.
Your target audience.
Who, right?
Yeah.
And your target investor, not
Yeah.
just your target audience, but your target investor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
People need to be able to see this. I go on certain small businesses, and I go, so if you wanted to pitch your business to me and what it does and get me interested from an investment standpoint, what do you have? What assets do you have to give me so that I can see what this is? Nine
Mm,
times out of 10, they say nothing. That is one of your best marketing tools ever.
gotcha. That's good. That's good right
What
there.
is, what
I
is
think
the
that
pitch deck? And it outlines everything that you and I are talking about. Everything that we said, all those forecasting, all those ideas, all those potential return on investments, all of that stuff, what that looks like. And a lot of people don't take the time to actually sit down and create that when they're building out the business. And that is because they have never done a business plan or a business blueprint.
that's good right there.
That everybody says, "Oh, you really don't need that." Really?
Yeah, you do need a forecast. You
That that is your first thing that helps to inform. And certain banks, right, will ask you for that.
Yes,
They
yes.
will ask you
Certain
for
certain institutions,
that.
like for instance, I'm a commercial real estate lending broker.
Right.
When a lot of times when we're looking at how to create working capital
Mhm.
for the client, what do you need? They ask those questions. Those are the two, three. Tell me about your client.
Yeah,
Tell me what they're doing in the industry.
that's right.
What are is there experienced in this?
That's
Do
right.
they have a coach that is experienced in this, that has maybe some investment, behind it?
And when you said coach, that's another thing that I think a lot of small business owners don't realize. Even if you're set up as an LLC or in a corporation, C corp, whatever it is, even at the bare minimum, if you're not a nonprofit, have an advisory board.
Mm,
Have someone, a group of people, right, that can you can go to talk about finance, that you can go to talk about business development structure and strategy, that you can go to talk about marketing, that you can go to talk about you know all of the things that operations, right, that may have industry knowledge, right, any and all. Have an advisory board, I always say, of at least 3 to 5 people, and this is your core that's going to help you strategize, right?
yes.
They could be people you know, or they could be from a program, or they could, I mean, most people don't even utilize the business development resources that they have, right, within their state, within their locale. Everywhere across the United States that I know of, to some degree, has some small business services department, some economic development corporation, some
Right.
something along those lines, right?
Right.
I'm in
Mhm.
New York and New Jersey, and when I tell you we're here, and people underutilize those resources, especially at that startup phase, right? I know they have them in other states, right? Because I've done workshops with a lot of them,
Yes.
and they're like, "Hey, could you come in and talk to her?" Yes, I can, right? Because business is business no matter where you go. But they have resources, they have mentors, they have business, they have technical assistance personnel. There are so many programs and nonprofits now that fall under the guise of business development and business assistance, right? People aren't tapping into them like the way that they need to when they're at that early stage startup phase, and they need a lot of this knowledge base to help them.
And what they don't realize is that this becomes their team.
It becomes their
It
team
becomes their team.
without having to pay them until you can get yourself to that level where you now
Exactly.
can hire a team.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what we were talking about that. Where were we? Oh my goodness, I didn't got off. We're talking about that leadership systems and teams. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. But that does become part of your team when you have someone you can call about this and that and that
Yes.
and that. And then like myself, I have my core team today. I may not talk to them all the time
Right.
because we're all doing our own thing, own business. But
But
when I have to make a phone call, I said, okay, I got my key five people over here that I can always
that
call
I
and say,
know will hold me down,
that will hold me down.
that will
And
get me right, that will be like, girl, let's look at that. Let's inspect that. Now, let's talk about this for a minute. Now, does that really make sense, right? I have that.
yes,
And they bad, baby.
I know it.
It's a bad team of men and women, right?
Yes, yes, and they keep you balanced.
They do keep me
They
balanced.
keep you balanced, and that's part of the whole part of building a business,
Yes.
creating cash flows in the business where it's sustainable.
Hmm.
That is sustainable.
Yeah.
Those things, that the leadership role, whether you are actually over that person or a group of people, or if you're just leading your own self, because
So,
that's the thing. That is a thing. And then
solopreneurs are leading themselves.
having those systems in place.
That's right.
And
Processes, even though we say systems, because it's just easier, but it is processes and systems. Because you have to have a process to turn it into a system.
that's true.
You don't have the process, you can't automate the system and have the system in place. So
Mm,
it's two in one, but it's driven by the process. Those standard processes become then the systems of automation that you can put in place.
I love that. I love that. So the leadership, the systems, and now, like you just said, having the intricate
Gotta have
people
a team.
to call, and not necessarily someone that you're managing like a team, but we're talking about as entrepreneurs, because that's what we've been talking about today. As entrepreneurs, how does that look when you have, core 5 to 7 people? I say five. A seven is the number of completion for me. So, I always count on
Listen,
seven.
I
So when
got
I get that seven in there, and I'm like, I'm calling this person as my legal counsel. I'm calling this
that's
person
right.
as my advisory on financials. I'm
That's
calling
right.
this person on listen, you are an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. This is how I'm feeling in my feelings today.
Just
Check
have that peer-to-peer interaction.
peer to peer, check me.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Check me. Am I wrong for this? What's your thought on that? Well, give me all the facts. These are all the facts.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I felt this kind of way, but the fact is, da 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 da. Tell me your input on that, right?
Right.
Right. My bookkeeping team,
That's right.
okay, keep me accountable, right?
Know
My
them real
marketing
well.
team, keep me accountable, right?
Yeah.
Those things, you
Yes.
got to have
Yeah.
those things.
You got to have them. You have to have them, and there are ways to get them.
Yeah. Listen now. Okay. Here we go. How do we reach out? Look,
You better,
Rasheeda,
listen,
I'm
you
not
better
messing.
get them.
You know what? I'm not messing with you. You know we supposed to be acting right. Listen.
We having too much fun. That's why.
We having too much fun. This conversation is so needed though. I mean,
It is.
that's why we asked you to come here today, because I know you are a beast on development and systems, and talking about what is going on behind the scenes. We talked about what you need to have inside your business
Yeah.
to get to the positive cash flows, to maintain those cash flows, and
Right.
how to make your books look the way they're supposed to look,
Yeah.
right? Your systems, how they're supposed, your bookkeeping, what it's supposed to look like, what actually hurts you in the midst if you're not really paying attention to that. And when
Nothing.
it's time for you to apply for working capital, when it's time for you to apply for grants, when it's time for you to apply for, investors, when you're time to apply for those things, if you're not working on those things intricately right now,
That's right.
bit by bit by bit, we're not talking about overwhelming yourself.
And
We're
can I just say one more thing?
absolutely.
Everybody, please file your taxes. I cannot tell you. And if you're not going to file your taxes, file for an extension.
An extension.
Stop playing with these people. You will go out of business because of tax evasion, tax debt, tax this, tax that. Make sure you're doing your state stuff. Make sure you register correctly. File your taxes. You are a business owner. You will owe some money. It is okay. You will not die. I cannot tell you how many was like, oh, well, I didn't make that much, so I decided not to file my taxes.
See, I'm not messing with you. We going. This is a whole another show. That, you know why? Because we bringing on the tax lady,
Well, good segue.
Dr. Corzette.
And I hope she
Listen,
stays there.
you must knew we was bringing on Dr. Corzette. That she's coming in
Oh,
the
and
next few weeks or
I
so.
know Dr. Cosette, and she is a beast and a powerhouse. So y'all come on now.
She's gonna be here
Don't get
talking
her
about that,
right.
and she is amazing.
Yes. She
International speaker, all that. You know what I'm talking about. She does
yes.
her thing on teaching tax professionals how to get their business together. So
That's
that's a whole nother thing when you got a tax professional that teaches other tax professionals how to get their stuff right. So yeah, this is about to be really
right.
good. Listen, I'm so glad I had you here with me today.
Oh
Listen,
my
I
God.
want to make sure
Yeah.
that everyone knows how to connect with you, how to actually reach out to you. So tell me that information. We will put it inside of the YouTube channel in the description and all that, and make sure we share it and everything. But I want you to go ahead and tell the people today.
So I think the best way to get in contact with me will always be LinkedIn. So make sure you follow me, Rasheeda Frazier. You will see me. I am the only blue-haired goddess on LinkedIn. Yes. But yeah, Rasheeda Frazier, go online, connect with me. And then you can DM me. I will always respond to you. Another way is via email, which is also, I'm in it all day, every day, and I do respond within 24 hours. And that is Rasheeda, my first name, at empowergreat.com, and then my website www.empowergreat.com. You can fill out an inquiry form, or you can just simply send me an email from there as well in the contact section.
I love it. I love it. Girl, I had fun with you today. Oh my goodness. So
So
many nuggets. So many nuggets. Thank you so much for coming
you
in
are so
and
welcome, darling.
talking to us about empowering greatness and what it all entails. And then how we too can start getting things in line. As you even gave me some nuggets. I was like, hold up, let me go ahead and double check that.
Listen, if we are, like I said, if we out here talking about it, we got to be about it, right? We can't be, I call it, we can't be, fake. warriors out here in these streets.
Yes, you
Right,
can.
I've been doing this for a very long time. I don't always say it out loud, but the other day I actually looked, and it's like 16 years, I think, in total.
Mm,
So
mm.
you think about how long you've been in the game and how easy it is for you to understand, and then the continuous learning that you do, right? One
Yeah,
of the things I always say is if I can't show my receipts that my business looks like I'm telling everybody else's business to look, or that I'm actively working on it, if I fall apart to make sure that it's right, then we have a problem.
absolutely. Absolutely. We got things to do. Woo, Miss Rashida. Thank you so much for being here
You're
with us
so
today,
welcome,
girl.
darling.
We have to make sure we get some people here. Stay behind, gonna talk to you. But listen,
Okay.
this is amazing that we can bring this to people, especially on their lunch hours. Hello, get this data. And if
Right.
you missed it, please make sure you go back and do the replay for if you miss any parts of this, because we did go through a process under the very beginning of this show. So if you missed any of that, make sure you go back and do that replay. Like, send it to somebody that you know need it.
Yeah.
Share it, right? Share this information with someone that you know needs this, right? Or maybe they just have some questions and not sure about something. Maybe something we said today was like ding ding ding.
Yeah.
I need to get in contact with Miss Frazier and talk to her more about that particular process of my business. Okay. Guys, listen, this has been an amazing show today. I don't know. I don't. If you didn't catch anything off of this show, you really need to go back and listen to that replay. I am so excited that we had Miss Rasheeda Frazier here with us. She is a wealth of knowledge. You're talking about layers and layers and layers of information on how to make sure your business is cash flowing positively. Even your home, how to make sure your home is cash flowing positively, right? And there are things that you need to also make sure you put in place. Those leaderships, the systems, and having an intricate team, maybe a surrounding, a circle of people that you can count on to help make sure that things are staying in place and you're doing what you need to do within your own business or your own household. I'm so glad you guys are here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another Financially Fit Friday. I am Demetris Curry, your host and the CEO of Inspired for Greatness. Make sure you also connect with us as well on Facebook at Inspired for Greatness LLC. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.